Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 9 of 5 Questions with Tina. That's me. And today, my illustrious guest is Josh Whiton.
Hey,
Hi.
everybody. Hi.
So, let me give a quick bio about Josh. So, this is my friend, Josh. As I already said, he is an ecotech entrepreneur, and he was named Champion of Change by the Obama administration for the company that he founded at age 23 that was later sold to the Ford Motor Company. And he is also the founder of MakeSoil.org. Man, you're just an underachiever, aren't you?
Try to be. I think you said.
Uh,
I think people thought you said ego tech entrepreneur, so it all makes sense now. I'm just always finding
um,
technology to make a bigger ego. Continue. Yeah.
Perfect. Josh had no idea what an entrepreneur was until he was 22 years old, and he just thought that he was kind of weird up until then, right? He is a big fan of Teslas, as am I, and he bought one of the very first ones ever made back in 2010. And he also started an urban farm that is still running today. Was that all correct?
I did. That's true.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to go right into these 5 questions. Josh, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, very serious questions. Number one, what's your favorite type of pizza and why?
I like so many kinds of pizzas, but I have to say, pepperoni pizza that where the pepperonis have been fried beforehand. Oh my gosh! Then they kind of like curl up like this and create a little pool of grease.
Mhm.
I don't want. That's something. It's like a very, very intimate secret to admit it in public. But I grew up on that kind of pizza in New York. They really know how to do pizza.
That's an intimate secret?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, thank you. You guys, you heard it first here. Okay, number 2, what is the most ridiculous thing you have ever done?
What?
Mhm.
Um. Most ridiculous thing. Um. I was at a Chinese restaurant with some friends once, and they said they would buy my dinner if I stuck the red peppers up my nose. But I had to go to the counter and pay, or I had to
Mhm.
go to the counter with them while they paid, and I had to keep them in all the way till we got to the car. And that really burned my nose. Like there's no joke. Like it's very sensitive inside the nose, and there were those little curly peppers. So I looked like a walrus kind of, and but I did get free lunch, and my nose eventually stopped burning, and I can still smell. So now it's nothing but a good memory. So why not?
Okay, that's pretty good. Okay,
Pretty
number 3.
ridiculous, right?
That's
So
ridiculous, yeah. I feel like you have probably more ridiculous stories, but that's a good start.
yeah. Oh yeah. We could keep going. There's many more.
Okay, number 3, when is the last time you experienced nostalgia?
Ooh, I I wrote several friends today to give them kind of an update on what's going on in my life, and I noticed I hadn't seen or talked to them in a long time, so I had nostalgia for my friends today when I was writing them.
Okay, well, that's good. I think a lot of people are probably experiencing that, but hopefully,
Yeah,
things will start opening up a bit more.
and I
Um,
just had nostalgia about that pizza from my childhood because it's hard to find that kind of
you can
pizza.
you should order some after this. Number 4, what is personally your biggest achievement that you're most proud of? It doesn't have to be career. Obviously, it could be anything.
Wow, I'm most proud that I keep updating my beliefs and I keep changing the way I think and see the world.
Mhm.
I guess I'm really proud of not getting stuck being who I was, and that I keep changing.
Yeah, constant growth, right? What would you say is like the latest iteration of Josh? What's your newest evolution phase?
Oh gosh, there's so many revisions underway, but I'd say it's letting go of um, resentment or negativity that I've had toward because if you become like a very environmentally oriented like I've become,
Mhm.
then it's easy to get resentful at like business and technology and things that are turning the earth into products and kind of making a mess of things. But I'm also an entrepreneur and a technologist, so that means I would start to like even dislike parts of myself because those are also aspects of myself. So really coming to um, appreciate, trying to help the environment while also embracing that I am really good at business and that I love technology and have a mind that really uses technology. So really letting go of negativity toward any of those things, and just realizing that somebody needs to help them get along better together. They're all kind of beautiful things in their own right. Things go astray every now and then, and we have to kind of update them, of course. So I'd say that's a big shift. And before, it was easy for me to get resentful toward one thing when I embraced a different thing. So.
That's great. And while we're on the subject, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about Make Soil?
Oh, yeah, sure. So if people go to makesoil.org, they can find a soil site near them. And that is a place where a neighbor is willing to receive your food scraps, because those food scraps, if they go into the trash, that's no good for the planet. They'll rot and turn into methane in a landfill, and that exacerbates climate change. And it takes the nutrients out of the food system forever. So our food, if we want it to be nutritious, we need to take all the leftovers and put them back into the soil, back into the earth. And so cities have been struggling with how to do that for a long time. And we've created a new way that cities can tackle this problem. And that's helping neighbors just deal with this on their own. It's not smelly. It looks good. It results in this beautiful soil. And it's kind of a transformative experience that I want more and more people to have. So that's a nonprofit, and they can participate there at
Yes, and
makesoil.org.
yes, makesoil.org. Check it out and see if I'm sure there are, but if there's a soil site near you guys. Okay, question number 5. What era would you choose to live in if you could pick any era?
Oh, wow. An era. I think I would like to be a philosopher in ancient Greece or something like that. I don't know how much of a
Mhm.
fantasy that is. Like, I heard, I don't know if this is true, but like, the totally, white like buildings and structures that we see. I heard that they were like painted all kinds of garish colors back in the day, really.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, at least
Mhm.
some of them are, or some of those statues that are white. They were painted, and they look kind of goofy, actually. So at least in my mind, though, like I would like a nice white robe, and to hang out in these beautiful white marble buildings or whatever they're made of, and talk about philosophy all day. I think that'd be a great gig.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, that wraps up our 5 questions.
Oh
And
man.
now, yeah, fast. And now it's time for you to give us some, let's do 2 specific areas. So, career advice, maybe for people who are aspiring entrepreneurs, and then just general life advice, because you are, for those of you that don't know, Josh is also, well, maybe you've noticed it, but he's also a very spiritual person and a spiritual leader. So you can give us a little bit of insight in both areas.
Okay. Um, I think the solution to so many of the problems today really lie at the intersection of knowing how technology works and what it can do, knowing how the planet works, and how to how nature works, essentially, and uh, and also how important money is. So if people like have a thing against money, or a thing against technology, or are completely ignorant of how the planet works, then your profession, your career, the solutions you come up with, they're going to be really limited. But if you can embrace all three of those things as societal institutions, or a phenomena of the universe, then I think it's going to put you on track to really contribute to the future industries of the world, which are largely how to help humans live in a more sustainable way, because we've got 8 billion people now. It's pretty rough on the planet. We've got to find new ways to live, and if you can be a part of those solutions, you're going to be just fine, and you're going to help us all out.
Beautiful.
Yep. So that's on the career advice, and then the life advice. Ooh, I don't know. Is there anything that you think I could weigh in on there, Tina? Is there any like direction you want to take that in particular?
No, whatever you feel inspired to talk about today.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, so publicly, I portray this persona of like the ecotech entrepreneur, but what a lot of people don't realize is I've spent just as much time studying religion and spirituality and soul searching and all of that. And I would say um, that as productive a person as I seem right now, I went through a year where I didn't get out of bed. I was super depressed. And that's because I'd become a nihilist. I had completely decided that life was meaningless, and I really, really believed it. And so I stopped doing anything. And that was awful. And I'm glad I got out of that. And so now I think the opposite is the best approach for life, to fill your life with so much meaning, every action you do to find meaning in it. And meaning is like a really healthy thing that makes the human being thrive. It's like an essential ingredient. So there's a lot of I run into a lot of depressed people out there, and and maybe not all forms of depression are like this, but a lot of people, they don't have a purpose. They don't have a healthy identity. There's even a lot of people in the spiritual world trying to like obliterate their identity and obliterate their ego, and there is a real peak experience of in freedom in that. But so long as you're here, you're going to want to have like a healthy identity, and remember that you can just keep updating your identity to be an even more enjoyable one. So you don't have to get stuck in an identity, but to have a positive self identity and to have real meaning in your life. These are pretty indispensable. I think the human mind gets sick without those qualities.
That's beautiful. I think we've talked about this before, but I've struggled with depression also throughout my entire life, and yeah, I totally agree. I think just finding things to be, for me personally, it's about perhaps it's maybe too much based in that, but it's finding meaning in growth. So that's why I'm always trying to expand myself, because the moment I start feeling like I'm stagnant, I start feeling very like there's no point, to
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Or maybe I'm just a little melodramatic, but I think you're
No, I'm right
totally,
there with you.
yeah,
Like that
yeah,
growth thing. I think we're both junkies for growth, and that's part of why we're pals. But you
mhm.
really, when you're growing as a person, like it's a spiritual experience for me. I kind of feel myself participating in the life process that's playing out in the universe, right?
Right. And the growth is, yes, spiritual and personal, but also for me, career, like what you mentioned
Mm,
about money, I'm very passionate about money and building wealth. And there is meaning in that, and I think
yes.
anything can be seen as positive or negative, but it's all based on our own perceptions. And so for me, it's like I think for a long time I was kind of like not shy, but I was ashamed of like my desire to grow also in every way, but also fiscally. And I was embarrassed by it. I'm like, oh, does it make me a shallow person? Does it make me, materialistic, or all these things that maybe certain societal things have put upon us? But I don't think anything is negative if we approach it from the right, mentality and yeah, whatever we give meaning to.
100%. Yep. And
Mm,
when I talk about growth now and even spiritual growth, I really am
mm,
bringing it down to practical issues like that. Like, what is your relationship with money, or with your family, or with whatever, right? Because when
mm.
I say growth, I don't mean like, can you learn to see auras, or talk to people in the 12th dimension or something. I really mean these practical hangups of being a human that can really unnecessarily just make our experience here just so much less than it could be.
Yeah, yeah, no, so I feel like so many people go one extreme or the other, like you said, like hyper spirituality to the point where, oh, I'm not a person of this earth. Like, yes, you are. You're just escaping. It's like escapism, right? Or the other way, which is there's no connection with the soul or the heart at all, and it's purely, just of this world, I guess. So it's really it's inspiring, to talk to you and to be friends with you, because you seem to be an expanding person in every direction. So that's wonderful.
Likewise, Tina, you're one of my favorite people. I don't know anybody else like you, who's like
Um,
creative and productive at the same time, and
I try.
funny.
I try. It's not.
So.
It's not. It's not. I portray that image, right? Like you said, like publicly, but sometimes it's a struggle. So.
I think, if we could get crazy personal here in public for a minute, like, oh, one thing I'm working on, which you might also find some benefits in,
Mhm.
is a belief that uh, hard work is like the way to do life. And I think there's a
Mhm.
very scary thought for you and I, which is maybe it could be a lot easier and be just as productive. And I think there's part of us that was programmed to believe that's not the case, and that
Yeah.
if you're feeling the pain of trying to be productive, then you're on the right track. And I'm really questioning that these days and saying,
Mhm.
is that difficulty quality really required? Challenges are nice and all, but
Mhm.
would I be okay with things going a lot more smoothly? Would I still feel good about myself? What if I achieved all my goals in a quarter of the effort? Would I actually even be okay with that? And I'm not sure all of me is. So I'm really inspecting that these days.
I actually I am as well, and I think work. smarter, not harder. But I've found in myself that this is again bad, but I feel like I've like recently not practiced nearly as much as I used to. And I used to have this like gnawing guilt and like, oh, you're like to myself. And this is very negative self talk, but oh, you're a loser. You're going to lose all your skills. You're lazy. Like it's just, probably childhood conditioning, not probably, definitely. Um, and which is I've been grateful for because it's driven me to be this like maniacal, crazy person when it comes to work and practice. But at some point, I'm like, oh my God, I'm, almost, or I guess by the time this comes out, I'll be 36 years old. Not that that's old by any means, but I don't want my entire life to be filled with this feeling of dread, really like impending doom, impending like, oh God, if everything falls apart or whatever. So I've been thinking about that a lot and like trying to find what's the balance, how little can how not little effort, but maybe just concentrated, less frantic effort can I
Mhm.
put in, not even necessarily physically, but mentally. Because even a year ago, if like before, I think before we met, if there was like 2 or 3 hours literally in a day that I didn't feel like I was doing something productive to advance my development, I would like panic. I would like have like panic attacks. I'm like, oh my God, I'm, and sometimes I get up in the middle of the night, 1 or 2 in the morning, like open my eyes, like I have to practice. I have to like, and I think that's really unhealthy. And I feel kind of guilty because I used to post obsessively things on social media, saying like you got to work hard. I mean, it's good, I think, until it's too much.
Mhm.
Because I was just kind of expressing my own, stuff in my head, like everyone should work hard. You got to work hard. There's no excuses. Very Gary Vee style, or at least how he used to be. And I really lived it and I believed it. But I think I don't know what happened. Perhaps in my advancing match rating age, I've kind of like calmed down a little. I think I've found for me more joy in like normal life stuff that somehow I think I used to look down upon. I used to
Mhm.
think, um, oh, that's like wasting your time. You're not, but I'm like cooking. I'm like doing like, what is it? Houseplant stuff. I'm like propagating plants. I'm baking, spending time with friends without in the back of my mind thinking you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Like it
Mhm.
used to be
Mhm.
this thing. So, um, sorry, I didn't mean to make it a tirade about my own thing, but I'm definitely has been, thinking about the same thing and where that
Yeah.
balance is.
Well, and how many times I can't tell you that I've been quote goofing off in a guilty way and hanging out
Mhm.
with some people and essentially thinking that we're partying, and then it turns out that this is an incredible connection who's very relevant, who opens a door for me in all my ventures that
Mhm.
makes everything easier. And so then I'm just like, whoa, was I partying, or was I really at the most productive meeting I could have been in at that moment? So it's really, you and I both kind of believe, the energy that we're we could go down the whole manifesting route, but I'm sure there's somebody
Mhm.
who's just like sitting on their couch all day making vision boards who really needs to see your tweet about, that getting off your butt is part of the equation. But
Yeah.
then for kind of workaholics like us, it's like,
Right, right.
why not just get more efficient, and why not build out teams? And
Mhm.
if you can just advise a team member, and then they're going through a different stage of growth in their career, and so they need to go learn a bunch of things maybe you already know, or maybe they're better at something that comes more naturally to them than to you. I'm very happy now just pointing people in a direction and helping
Mhm.
out if I need to be, whereas in the past I think I would have gotten um, a big hit from being the person who was slogging. I felt like that made me a good person. And so I think
Yeah.
we can be more productive than ever, though. I'm not talking about scaling back the productivity, just the
Right.
sense of effortfulness.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, the martyr mentality. Me too. I would take pride in like, look how exhausted I am. Look how. That being said, I think you're further along in being able to let go and delegate. But that is something that I'm working on. But
Nice.
yeah, I think it's funny because like I used to always think about like trying. Oh, I'm like motivating other people to work harder. But now it's kind of like the opposite, like because there are a lot of people I realize that are workaholics and maybe sacrifice other parts of their
Yeah.
life and humanness, for that. And so, again, all things in moderation.
Yeah, let's go for results, right? Let's agree on that. Let's
Mhm,
go for results and beautiful outcomes, but let's be
mhm.
more open minded about how enjoyable it could be along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, that's beautiful. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we wrap up this episode?
Not really. It's been a blast being here, and folks can find me if they want to hear more of this kind of flim flam on the interwebs at Josh Whiton. If you can spell my name correctly, then you'll find me everywhere. A at
I'll
Josh.
include all the links.
Great.
Yeah, I'll
There
include
you
all
go.
the links. So be sure to check him
Cool.
out. He writes lots of great stuff, very thought provoking. So
Thank you, Tina.
you're welcome. Thank you. And I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Great seeing you. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye, guys. See you soon.